Welcome to my channel. My name is Tatiana, and in this video I'll be showing you how I make these shaker style cabinet doors. Keep in mind this is the first time I've ever made a cabinet door, so please don't judge it too harshly, but I'm doing what works for me and I'm not a professional by any means. This is my kitchen before I started doing any DIY projects on it. I start off by taking off all the cabinet doors and labeling everything to not get confused which door goes where. Materials and tools that I used is 4x8 by 3/4 inch MDF panel that I cut down to 2.5 inch strips. And for the inner panel, you could use the 4x8 by 1/5 inch panel for the inside, but I will use my old doors for that. A table saw, clamps, glue, dowel jig, and 3/8 inch dowels. After I cut down the 4x8 by 3/4 inch MDF panel into 2.5 inch strips, I use those strips to measure out the vertical side first. After cutting down the vertical side, you want to go ahead and do the horizontal piece, but that horizontal piece goes on the inside in between of the two vertical sides. Then after cutting that down, I make sure that it fits my old door and then use the inner panel of the old door. Next, I use my table saw to route out the hole to hold the inner panel. I measure out the stopper to be 1/4 inch away from the blade and measure the blade to come out 1/4 inch. I use a scrap piece to cut the board from both sides. Since the blade is 1/8 inch, I have to cut it from both sides to kind of make that, 1/5 inch little routed hole to hold the inner panel, just like this. Then I go ahead and route out one side that will hold the inner panel on all 4 of the boards. For the inner panel, I cut off the sides of the old doors and use the panel for the new doors. Then I go ahead and measure out the inner panel for the new doors, and since these sides are 2.5 inches and my old doors, the sides were, I think it was like 1.5 inches, the inner panel was a little too big for the inside, so I had to cut that down to fit perfectly on the inside of my new shaker style doors. Now for putting the door together, I do add 2 3/8 inch dowels to all 4 corners to add the strength to hold the door together. This dowel jig isn't horrible, but it's definitely not my favorite. I'm not strong enough to hold it down while I'm drilling, and I can't figure out a way to clamp it down, but it works, so I'm not going to complain about that. I just estimate the dowel hole to go in the center of the 3/4 MDF, but I make sure that the red stopper is always on the face side or holding against the face side, so that way it will align whenever I put it together and I don't have to like measure out the hole to come be perfectly centered in the middle. any glue, you want to dry fit the door together to make sure that all the corners align perfectly, because once you add the glue, it's more of a mess to go back and fix anything. Then after everything's perfect, I go ahead and add the glue and dowels and put the door together. It's honestly like, it's my favorite part of the whole entire project because it's like a little puzzle. You see your whole entire project come together. And once you have the whole door put together with the glue and the dowels, I go and add 2 clamps to hold it down from both sides and let the glue dry for 30 minutes. Then I go ahead and take off the clamps and let the door sit for 24 hours before sanding or touching the door at all. This is the end result of how I made the DIY shaker style cabinet doors. The only issue is the tiny hole from using a table saw to route out the hole for the inner panel, but I just used some filler and sand it down, and honestly you can't even notice it's there. I did redo my entire kitchen and all the doors. The first door that I made was 8 months ago, and this is the door. There's no cracks, no chips, no nothing. Honestly, it held up really well, so I just went ahead and did the rest of the doors this way. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it helps, and have an amazing day.